ملة أبيكم إبراهيم هو سماكم المسلمين من قبل وفي هذا ليكون الرسول شهيدا عليكم وتكونوا شهداء على الناس فأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة واعتصموا بالله هو مولاكم فنعم المولى ونعم النصير. And strive hard in Allah's cause as you ought to strive, with sincerity and with all your efforts, that His name should be superior. He has chosen you to convey His message and has not laid upon you in religion any hardship. It is the religion of your father Ibrahim. It is He, Allah, who has named you Muslims, both before and in this Quran, that the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ may be a witness over you and you be a witness over mankind. So perform your prayers and give zakah and hold fast to Allah. He is your patron and your Lord. What an excellent patron and Lord, and what an excellent helper. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are honored today to have with us a friend of ours and a brother of ours and our ustad and teacher, Ibrahim Musa, to enlighten us with a topic which has so much relevance to Muslims and Islam. Ibrahim alayhi salam, people may disassociate him with the message of Islam, but rather, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala points out in this verse, he was a Muslim. And in fact, so much of our Islamic legacy bases on his reality, the reality of his message. Just consider the pillar of Hajj and how much we have from the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And it is enough of a comparison that, or a link even, that Abu Bakr, when the Prophet ﷺ was comparing Abu Bakr to a messenger, he compared him to Ibrahim alayhi salam and to Isa alayhi salam. And with that, I'll hand over to Brother Abdul Rahman.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا ربي لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Ibrahim alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala underpins the faith with Ibrahim alayhi salam. He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وَمَنْ يَرْغَبُ عَنْ مِلَّةِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ إِلَّا مَنْ سَفِهَ نَفْسَهُ. Who is it that strays? Who is it that leaves the millah, the way of Ibrahim alayhi salam, except he or she that disrespects themselves, that hates themselves, that doesn't want good for themselves. Safiha, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَا تُعْطُوا السُّفَهَاءَ أَمْوَالَكُمْ, do not give the sufaha. What is sufaha? What does this mean? It means the simple, the silly people, those that don't know how to make good decisions. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that no one deviates from the way, the path of Ibrahim, except someone that is like this. Someone who doesn't respect themselves, who's silly, he can't make good decisions, who thinks that he's a bit of an idiot. Only if you want to disrespect yourself will you leave the way of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And there are about 30 characteristics of Sayyidina Ibrahim that I wanted to talk to you about today, but I forgot the paper, so we'll talk about it next week. But some of these characteristics, subhanAllah, totally blow your mind. Totally blow your mind. And today we're going to start with something that he did as a child. Some of the Mufassireen say that he did this before he received prophethood. Some of the Mufassireen, some of the scholars will say that the incident that we're about to discuss happened before he received or before he was given prophethood. Some say, no, he was given prophethood. But it happened when he was young. And the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He describes how His people call him a fata. Fata means he's less than 20 years old. Some narrations say he's between the ages of 11 to about 14. The same time that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma him and his father, may Allah be pleased with them both. The Prophet, peace be upon him, sits down with him on a donkey, and he says to him, shall I not teach you some lessons? Shall I not teach you something that will be beneficial for you? And Ibn Abbas responds. He says, yes. And the Prophet ﷺ gives him a message, gives him a teaching, and from amongst this, he says, if the whole world were to gather to harm or hurt you, they will not be able to do so. In other words, if the whole world, America, Russia, China, all of them gather to harm you, or people of Syria, for example, then they will not be able to except with that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had already pre-written. They are not doing anything that wouldn't have happened anyway. The man that was going to die was going to die. The child that was going to die was going to die. But Allah chose for them martyrdom. He selected them, purified them from amongst so many people. And know that if everyone gathers to save you, you have cancer, or you have leukemia, or any other form of cancer or terminal illness, the whole world could unite to try and save you. Go to the best of doctors in the best of places, but they will not be able to save you unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for it to happen. Yes, spontaneous remission happens. All of these things happen, but it was written for you. It was written for you. And subhanAllah, always amazes me that the Prophet ﷺ is saying this to a boy between the ages of 9 and 13. Or 9 and 14. When you read this and you don't know who he's talking to, you think he's talking to Khalid ibn Walid. Khalid, you're in charge of the army, you're a general. On you go and don't be afraid. Know that if the whole world wanted to unite against you, they wouldn't be able to. You'd think that. But no, he's speaking to a boy, a young boy between the ages of 9 and 14. And this should instill within us true courage. This is just an introduction for what's about to happen. At the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam, there were 3 forms of shirk, 3 forms of kufr. 3 forms of kufr, or disbelief. And we're going to explain what disbelief means in a little while. One of them is that people would worship idols. People would worship idols. Another, i.e. stones on earth. Another form was that people would worship stones in the sky, planets. So they would worship planets. Jupiter, Mars, this or that. Oh look, it looks nice, let me worship it. Some would worship the sun, the moon. So 2 types of kufr that are very related. Worshipping of stones. Stones on earth and stones in the sky. And then there's a 3rd form of kufr or shirk at the time of Ibrahim a.s., which is people worshipping other people. Worshipping kings. And we see this today as well as we see other things. Where people are made now to make sujood to Gaddafi before he died. Or make sujood to Bashar al-Assad. Or make people say, La ilaha illa Bashar al-Assad. Things like this. People that worship people. So 3 types of kufr at the time of Ibrahim a.s. People that worship idols, stones. People that worship planets, stones. And people that worship people made of clay. Might as well be stone. And Ibrahim is born into this. And from a very, very young age, he can see that this is wrong. He can see that this is absolutely and utterly against nature. How can I bow down to a stone? What's it going to do for me? Bear in mind, he is between the ages of 11 and 14 roughly. And definitely underneath the ages of 20. So he says to his father, and some narrations say that it's his father, some narrations say it's his uncle. He says to the guardian of the household, and who is this guardian of the household? He is the man that is entrusted by their society to make the idols. So he builds these, he makes these idols. He's the one that brings a stone and etches it out and makes it so that people then bow down to us. So he's built in the household of kufr almost. He grows up in this household where his guardian is the one that makes these things that people then do shirk and kufr because of. He says to his father, this is wrong. This is wrong. What are we doing? And his father begins to just shun it off. He thinks, oh yeah, he's just going through times of doubt and hormones and whatnot. It's okay. But then Ibrahim a.s. and the Quran subhanAllah describes this to us so perfectly. He begins to teach his people. And this is where it gets interactive, or at least I want you to think, and not just listen. How does Ibrahim a.s. teach his people that these idols are useless? How does he teach his people that these idols are absolutely and utterly useless? How does he instill within them aqeedah? Aqeedah in creed. Knowing that there's only one God, worshipping Him. How does he instill within them these things? Does he sit down with them and he talks with them and has a debate? Does he mock their religion and they mock his verbally? Does he ignore them? Does he war against them? What does he do? He's very young. What does he do? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala narrates to us how his father, he takes him to this place of worship and he says, these are your idols. These are your idols. These are your gods. And Ibrahim, he rejects the premise. He rejects it. How can this be? Bilal, how can this be? ما تحركش بس. And just make sure it doesn't get moved. How can this be? So, Ibrahim a.s. the day after, he goes to this place of worship, supposed worship, and he begins to break with an axe all of the idols except for the biggest one. He breaks with an axe all of the idols except for the biggest one. Now this takes a lot of guts, because it's night time, he's going to break into the place of worship. So many children now, if you leave them with the lights closed, they begin to see aliens and green creatures and this and that. He's going into a place that has idols. So it's very easy for you to think that something is moving or someone is watching you or the angel of death is standing there. All of these things are plausible. For a child to think, all of these things are plausible. He goes in with an axe and he breaks them all. Now the question is, why does he break them? Why does he break them? He spoke to his father before and he said, Father, why is it you're bowing down to something that can't help you? The father said, these are our idols. This is what my father taught me, and what his father taught him, and what his father taught him. This is what we do. These are idols, and these are the ones that help us. Ibrahim, the premise just can't go into his mind. So he goes in and he breaks an idol. Remember we were talking about Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, and we said how his father took him there and he said, these are your gods. And Abu Bakr, when his father went away, he looked at the idol, and he said, I'm hungry. Feed me. He said, I'm tired. Rejuvenate me. He said, I'm weak. Give me strength. He said, I'm poor, without clothes. Give me. He says this mockingly. The idol looks at him and does nothing. So Ibrahim already knows this, alayhi salam. So his idea is, if I can break the idol, and the people come in the morning and they see that the idol has been broken, then surely they'll realize that they're bowing down to something that can't even save its own life. If I'm going to fight with another human being, at least if I'm going to worship another human being, that human being can bring me food. That human being can defend its own life. But if I'm going to worship a stone, I expect it at least to save its own life. And so Ibrahim a.s. takes the axe and breaks the first one. Nothing happens. Second, nothing happens. All the way he breaks every single one of these idols. But the spectacular thing is he leaves one of these idols. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, throughout the Quran, describes aqeedah and the need for one God. One God. We can't have two, we can't have 5, we can't have 20. We can only have one God. Why? Because if there are more than one God, there's more than one God, they're going to fight. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَفَسَدَتَ, and then everything will be destroyed. Maybe the gods can't kill each other because they're gods by definition. But all of creation will be destroyed. All of creation will be destroyed. And so Ibrahim wants to teach them a lesson. First lesson, these idols are not gods. They can't even help themselves. How can they help me? Secondly, They come in the next morning and they find that the idols have been broken. They find that the idols have been broken. They say, who did this? Some of them say, سَمِعْنَا بِفَتَى, we have heard of a youth below the age of 20. His name is Ibrahim. And he was saying strange things about our gods. Probably he came and broke them. Now look at this. No one thought there, no one said, they're broken. No one stopped to say they're broken. Do you understand? No one stopped to say they're broken. And Ibrahim a.s. must have known this as he was breaking them. And that's why he decided to leave the biggest one. And I'll explain more. They didn't say, oh my gosh, they're broken. We were wrong. They didn't say that. They said, no, there was a guy called Ibrahim and he was saying bad things about our idols. Like he's my friend and I have to, he got battered and I have to now get my gang of friends and we have to go batter the guy. The idol that you're worshipping is just, khalas, it's not an idol. Call it a day, guys. We'll go home. They didn't think that. They thought, let's punish the guy who beat our friend up. Let's go beat him up the way he beat our friend up. So they call Ibrahim a.s. and they say, did you do this with our idols? And what does Ibrahim a.s. do? What does Ibrahim a.s. do? He says, there's one standing. بَلْ فَعَلَهُ كَبِيرٌ. No, the biggest one, he beat them up. He broke them. And then, subhanAllah, something spectacular happens. These people now realize that they are absolute idiots. They realize we're wrong. They wouldn't have realized that if Ibrahim a.s. just said, yeah, I broke them. Obviously they're not gods. They wouldn't have realized that. It wouldn't have been the same. Ibrahim a.s. had to say to them, no, the biggest guy, he beat them up. So now they're looking at each other and going, the idol can't move. How can he break the other idols? So now they're admitting to themselves, we're wrong. But then it goes further than that. Ibrahim a.s. is telling them, this is the biggest idol. Surely, he would have dominion over the others. Surely he would have dominion over the other idols. Surely he would be stronger. And if so, wouldn't they fight? And if so, wouldn't the strongest one win? And if so, why do you have more than one idol? Do you see the logic? Do you see how everything is falling into place? All of this hit them and just like that. Why do you have more than one idol? Why do you have more than one God? Why do you need more than one God? Surely that one God can do everything. And if there were any other gods, astaghfirullah, I'm thinking they're the dog, dog eat dog, right? If there are any other gods, then surely these idols would be dog eat dog. They'd kill each other. Why? Why do you have more than one? And if this big idol destroyed the small idols, and you're calling the big idol God, don't you think that the true God would destroy those that worship the other idols? All of these messages wrapped up in one experience. This, brothers and sisters, is absolute da'wah and tarbiyah in one go. Tarbiyah in Arabic is the process of nurturing something so that it becomes strong. It's not just knowledge. It's not knowledge. Knowledge is that Ibrahim a.s. says to them, look, I destroyed them. No, this is knowledge. Tarbiyah is for Ibrahim a.s. to make them realize what they just realized. That is tarbiyah. Tarbiyah is making an experience that can nurture the other person. And so Ibrahim a.s. does this. And they realize, oh my gosh, we're wrong. Ibrahim is right. But then what happens? They've realized that they're wrong and that Ibrahim is right. Now what happens? In a verse of the Quran, not directly associated with the story of Ibrahim, but we take the nas, we take the verse بِظَاهِرِ وَبِعُمُومِ. We take the verse by what we understand from it, i.e. it's applicable to all contexts, so long as it's according obviously to the rules of usul al-fiqh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the people that disbelieve when they realize the truth. They realize the truth. He says, فَاسْتَيْقَنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُم. Right? All of a sudden, themselves, their hearts awakened to the certainty of the truth. They saw it there in front of them. Yes. No way can these be gods. They saw it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, وَجَحَدُوا بِهَا. Right? They lied. They killed their own hearts. They lied. They saw the truth clear. They saw it and then they started to scratch their eyes out. Because if I can't see it anymore, then it doesn't exist. They start to nullify their heart. They start to kill their own emotions. Because if my heart isn't alive, then God doesn't exist anymore. This is what they do. And subhanAllah, I was sitting in a circle once, and we were going through Surah Al-Baqarah, and we were reading from verse 6 onwards, the second page, Surah Al-Baqarah in the screen Mus'haf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Definitely, indeed, those that disbelieve, whether you preach to them, whether you tell them or not, they disbelieve. خَتَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ. Allah has stamped and sealed their hearts. وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ. And He stamped and sealed their hearts, i.e. the message doesn't go in and out of the other ear, it doesn't go in the first place. It comes in like that and it goes around and out the other way. It doesn't go into the head, it doesn't bounce around the skull. It doesn't enter in the first place. وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ. So it's sealed, their hearts are sealed as well as their ears and their heart. On top of that, their eyes have got a layer covering غِشَاوَة over it. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. And they have huge punishment. So the brother, he sat there and he said, if this is the case, surely this is not the case. How is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can turn their hearts off and then punish them for not believing? How can Allah turn their hearts off and then punish them for disbelieving? Right? Good question. Is that fair? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes your brain and your heart and your ears and your eyes, and then He says, you're going to hell? It's not fair. That's not just. It's okay to think that. It's not just. It's not fair. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes what happens next. And brothers and sisters, sometimes when things are being narrated to you, they're narrated sequentially. I woke up today, I felt tired, then I washed my face, I felt a little less tired, then I got up, walked around the block, I felt a bit more rejuvenated, the fresh air, etc. So what's happening is that I'm speaking to you sequentially as what happens. But there's another form of narration where I come to you and I say to you, that guy's a waste of time. Because blah, 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 blah. So what I'm doing is I'm giving you the conclusion, the summary, and then I'm giving to you the reasons thereafter. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing this in these ayahs. He's saying these people, they'll never believe, whether you tell them or you don't tell them. These people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stamped their hearts and their ears and their eyes and forget about it. Except by His permission, if He wishes then to unstamp it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us why. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. From these people that were stamped, their hearts were stamped, and this is why their hearts were stamped. They say we believe in Allah and we believe in the hereafter, but they don't. They're just saying it, it's just lip service. يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. They're trying to fool. They're trying to betray Allah and the people that believe. وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ. But they're only fooling themselves, and they don't even know it. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٍ. In their hearts there is a disease. And because they're happy with that disease, and because they instigated that disease by lying, by saying we believe and we don't, etc., etc., فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. Then Allah made their disease worse. He stamped their hearts. He made their disease worse. Then there are other people. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. There are other people, you tell them, stop destroying earth. Stop it. the fertilizers that you're using, they're destroying things. The hormones that you're pumping into the meat that we're eating, it's destroying things, it's giving people cancer. The emissions, all of these things, stop it. Stop putting into the rivers and the seas the garbage that you're producing. First of all, clean it. They say, no, we're fixing earth. We're giving people jobs. We're doing this, we're doing that. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِنَّهُمْ مُفْسِدُونَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the verses carry on, and there are more examples, but we're talking about Ibrahim. But what I want to tell you right now is as follows. The point I'm making is that these people saw the truth. It hit them like that. And then what did they do? What did they do with this young boy who went out of his way to show them the truth? What did they do to him? They built a fire. And what kind of fire did they build for Ibrahim alayhi salam? They built such a large, exquisite fire. Look at this. They're going out of their way. They could just burn him on a bonfire on a stake or something. But they built such a big fire. Why? Why do this to a guy who just opened your heart? Even if for a split second. Why? Why go out of your way so much? What is the celebration all about? Why the hate? Why all the hiqd? Why all that hate for this young boy? Young boy. Why? Because they disbelieve. They have chosen disbelief over truthfulness. And they detested the fact that Ibrahim had gifted them a second worth of the truth. They detested Ibrahim because of this. They loathed him. And so they built a fire. And how big was this fire? It's narrated that the fire is so big, brothers and sisters, that they couldn't throw him in. They couldn't walk up holding him and just throw him in like that. Why? Because if they got close, they would burn. It's narrated that this fire, as the birds flew on top of the fire, the birds, how many meters up? Right? They would fall into the fire. That's how big it was. It wasn't just a bonfire. It wasn't a building. It wasn't a building being burned. This was an exquisite fire. So big that when Ibrahim was thrown into the fire, he spent 3 or 4 days in the fire walking around. That's how big the fire was. Like a city made out of fire. Can you begin to just conceptualize how big and how much effort went into this by these people? So they build this fire and there's no way to get him in there. So they build a catapult in order to put Ibrahim into the fire, into the catapult to be thrown into the fire. Look at all the exquisite planning. All the exquisite planning when they could have just said, okay, we believe. Or they could have said, okay, we don't believe. But not only do they disbelieve, but they war against the young boy who brought them light. So they put him into the catapult. And then one of the most spectacular things in history happens. Ibrahim a.s. is sitting in the catapult. He's 12, he's 13, he's 14. And how many of us now, at the age of 40, 30, 50, 22, 18, my friends are smoking. My friends don't wear hijab. Everyone's got a boyfriend. Everyone's got a girlfriend. He's sitting there alone. Even his father has disowned him. Alone, in the catapult. Alone. You know the things people do when they're alone, so that they get out of the loneliness? Phone a friend. Go out clubbing. Why? I'm alone. Go to the bar with my non-Muslim friends. Why? I'm alone. I know it's haram, but I'm alone. I can't stand it. I don't want to be alone. Or if I'm alone, let me open the internet. Let me do stuff that I shouldn't be doing. Why? Even if I'm not speaking to another human being, it's just recorded. Why? Because I don't want to be alone. The things people do so that they escape loneliness. Ibrahim there is sitting, and even though everyone is watching, imagine you've seen, films like Gladiator or, where everyone's watching, and you're in Rome and there's a stadium and everyone's watching and you're just one guy in the middle just about to be eaten by a herd of, of bulls or a pack of lions or tigers. You're alone, even though people are looking at you. Even though everyone is there, but you're alone. That's the worst type of loneliness. Has anyone ever felt that? You're in a place where you don't fit in. A lot of people of ethnic minority in the UK, they feel like that. Outside of Birmingham, of course. Right? They feel like that. And then they go back to Pakistan or Egypt, and everyone in Egypt treats you like you're a gora, right? Like you're some coconut. But you come here and everyone treats you like you're a twirl, right? So here you're black, there you're white. You never fit in. Some people feel that way. Ibrahim a.s. from the very beginning, he doesn't fit in. Now he's in a catapult and he doesn't fit in. Something spectacular happens. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends to him the angel Jibreel. He sends to him the angel Jibreel. And Ibrahim, they cut the catapult and he's being projectiled towards the fire. And he can see the fire there in front of him. And Jibreel comes to him and he says, Allah has sent me. Would you like anything? Would you like anything? What would you say? Catch! Yeah? Put the fire out, destroy them. Oh, alhamdulillah, let's get out of here. MashaAllah, a couple of hundred wings on either side. Come on, let's go. Yeah? What would you say? What would you say? What does Ibrahim a.s. say? What does he say? 3 words. Not from you. Not from you. And not in the way that a wife will say to her husband, can I, not from you, right? Because he's just, he came late or he didn't do this or she asked him for that. Right? No, he's saying, no, not from you. Not from you. The aqeedah, the absolute tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not from you, but from Allah. وَحَسْبِيَ اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلِ. Hasbi means enough for me is Allah. وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلِ, and the best of attorneys. Wakil is an attorney. Now in Islam, what are the laws for someone being your wakil? So if I give Abdullah $5,000 and I say to him, buy me a car. I say to him, buy me a car. I give him specifications. I want a Volkswagen Golf. 2-liter, diesel, at least 100 bhp. Go buy it. In Islam, he has to get me what I've asked him for or something better. Or something better. If he doesn't get me what I asked for, or if he gets me something less, then I have the right to say, I didn't ask for that. Give me my money back. He turns around and goes, but I don't have your money because I bought the car. Then tough for him. Yeah? This is the rules of wakil, one of the rules, one of the stipulations of being an attorney. That you have to act in the interest of your client. In the interest of your client. Now if he manages to get me a Bentley, and he knows that I can't afford too much on petrol or diesel, so miraculously the Bentley is only 2 liters, but it's 160 bhp, so it's even better. And it's got all of the, and the insurance is the same, miraculously, so it's the same, but it's 100% better. I don't have any disadvantages to owning the Bentley, but I have more advantages. Then I would take it. I would take it. And I would have no right to say to him, no, I don't want it. So when Ibrahim a.s. is being catapulted, and Jibreel comes to him, he says, do you want anything? He says, not from you. He says, from Allah. Because hasbi Allah. Allah is enough for me. Wa ni'mal wakil. And if you can save me, then Allah is a better attorney than you, Jibreel. He's speaking to Jibreel. Jibreel, the trusted, al-Amin. Gabriel, the one that brought down all of the messages, the link between humanity and Allah. The one who brings, he's the wahy. He says to him, Basically, if you can help me and I know you can help me, then Allah can help me even more. So why should I accept you? Just think about that a second. Why should I accept Jibreel when I can have Allah? Does that make sense? Why should I accept Jibreel? And what is Jibreel? Compare Jibreel to your friend who's smoking. Yeah? Compare Jibreel to your friend. You're happy with your friend over Allah. If you pick Jibreel, at least we say, okay, you picked a really good choice, mate. But why should Ibrahim settle for Jibreel when he has Allah? And I want you to ask yourself that. Every time you come to do a sin, every time you come to negotiate with something in dunya or with someone, and you're happy to take a step down and give up your rights so that you're not lonely, so that people don't mock you. Whenever you're in that position, ask yourself, why settle for these people when I can have Allah? Why settle for these people when I can have Allah? When you're going to wear hijab, and this is for the brothers as much as the sisters, brothers, you need to pull your trousers up. It's not hijab otherwise. Yeah? And the stuff that's tight around your awrah, that needs to change. For brothers as much as sisters, not an attack on the sisters. But when you come to wear your hijab, and it's your family that will come against you and say, why are you doing this? No one else does this. Will you settle for your family or will you want Allah? And when you go to your school, if you're at secondary school and you didn't wear hijab when you first started because you didn't need to, and now you've decided to, and you're thinking, will people make fun of me or not? Who will you settle for? Will you settle for people or will you settle for Allah only? So Ibrahim, he's still there, no, I'm not from you. And then he lands. Now in that meanwhile of, okay, I said no to Jibreel, but I'm still in the air. Where is Allah? Yeah? I said no to Jibreel. I should have taken Jibreel. Yeah? Sometimes that happens as well. You say, no, I'm going to wear my hijab. I'm not going to smoke, I'm not going to drink. You guys get drunk, get peed. Yeah? I'm not going to accept that. And then they make fun of you. Allah, where were you? Why are they making fun of me now? Ibrahim doesn't do that. Ibrahim, yes, he can feel gravity, he's pulling him down, he can feel everything's changing now, he's just come to that part where now he's falling. But he doesn't say, where is Allah? Where was Allah? He doesn't say this. And he lands, and miraculously he lands a soft landing, he doesn't break anything. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, how He subhanahu wa ta'ala orders the fire, Kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. Become cool, but safe for Ibrahim. And the Mufassireen say, why does he say but safe? Because if it becomes too cold, he's going to freeze. So he says to it, become accommodating for Ibrahim. And as someone who, when I was a child, loved fire, because it looks so spectacular. It does, doesn't it? Why do you think people worship it? Why do you think? Because it looks so beautiful. Lots of colors and this and that, bonfire. Why do people enjoy it so much? Because it's gorgeous, it looks really nice. All these fireworks, etc., light, it looks nice. So imagine now Ibrahim is in this fire for 3 or 4 days, walking around, chilling in the fire. Right? This chilling in the fire, yeah? He gets to see everything, things are cooked for him, there's an oven wherever he goes, no problem. And he's just walking around. This must have been one of the nicest occasions in his life. This must have been one of the most spectacular occasions in his life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, Kuni bardan wa salaman. The second Ibrahim says, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. He says that. Sometimes when you make a decision and it's difficult, you expect Allah to come right now. What did we learn about Sayyidina Yusuf when Ustaz Tariq was speaking? Who here wants to be the Minister for Finance? Who here wants to be the Minister of Finance for any country? How would you go about doing it? You'd go to university, you'd get good grades, you'd help out with a local MAB 304th Scouts group to put that on your CV. What would you do? Would you go to prison as a career path in order to become the finance minister? Would you go to prison in order to do that? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. So a brother is approached with the job of earning interest on behalf of his bank. And he's going to be earning 160k a month. Never mind the year. But he says no. And it's just as Ibrahim, he's still in the air, he's still, but the air for this brother is 2 years. So he goes through 2 years of turmoil and hardship. Yusuf went through 7 years minimum. Minimum. And then he became the finance minister at a very young age. At a very young age. If he had gone through the usual route, he wouldn't have got there before the age of 50, 60. So yes, you'll say no. I don't want anything less than Allah. But that doesn't mean instantly that it will change. No, Allah wants you to carry on. Allah wants you to carry on. Anyone can say no like that for a split second. No. Right? No, they went, no. It doesn't work like that. Allah wants to test you truly. Truly. Does He settle only for Allah? Or is He just saying this to see whether it's just lip service? So Ibrahim lands safely and he's there. This is one of the most spectacular things in history, in my opinion. That he said no to Jibreel. Not that he was in the fire, that he said no to Jibreel. This is spectacular. And then something else happens that's equally, if not even more spectacular. Ibrahim walks out of the fire 3 or 4 days later. Ibrahim walks out of the fire 3 or 4 days later. Remember the people that threw him into the fire? Remember the people that saw the light for a couple of seconds? The same people see Ibrahim alayhi salam walking out of the fire. What do these people do? What do these muppets do? They continue to disbelieve. They go, oh, there's something special about that lad. And it ends there. It ends there. He showed you the light. The logical step was to say, whatever he worships, saved him. Let me worship whatever he worships. This is the logical. This is how the neurons within the mind should be triggered. This is the path that should happen. But it doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. When Ibrahim leaves to go to Palestine, there are only 2 people that believe. Only 2 people that believe. A woman who later becomes his wife, and a man who later becomes a prophet, Lut alayhi salam. 2 people! And all of these people watching. How many people are watching? Well, what kind of a civilization could build a fire that was that big that the birds would fall down? There had to be more than a couple of hundred. There had to be more than a couple of thousand. Talking about civilization here, people that could build something like that. All of those people see, and only 2 of them believe. Only 2 of them believe. Ya Allah, I said no to Jibreel. Ya Allah, Jazakallah for the fire. Alhamdulillah, Allah, I'm very grateful for it. But only 2 people believe. Sometimes we feel that way. We've been doing da'wah, no one's believing. But you couldn't have done da'wah better than Ibrahim alayhi salam. You couldn't have done da'wah better than Ibrahim. The people believed for a split second and then they shut their hearts off. And this is why I explained to you the verses. So that when you read them, you know that Allah is most just. What do you expect now for someone who sees the truth, then disbelieves in it, then sees a miracle, a man walking out of a fire and goes, yeah, the guy's a special lad. What do you expect now will happen to these people? So this is one type of disbelief that he fought. Another, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes to us how he sits down in front of people and he says, look, there's the moon. The moon is beautiful. It looks big. Maybe this is my Lord. And then in the morning, he sees the same people And he says, the moon is gone. I don't like things that go. Oh look, there's the sun. Maybe that is my Lord. He's using logic with a different type. We said the type that worship the stones on earth. Now we're talking about the type that worship the stones in the heavens. And then at night, the sun goes. And he says, I don't like these things that come and go. I worship the one that is always here. I worship the one that is always here. But they leave him alone now. This guy, you can't he's an untouchable. Yeah? You can't go near this guy. We threw him into fire, nothing happened. Khalas, let's leave him. He talks sense. We really should believe, but we won't. But we're going to leave him this time. And then later on, so these two things happened when he was younger. Later on, another incident happened. The third type of kufr, and we'll end with this inshallah. He meets a king. And the king is exactly the way that we see now some of these Muslim or Arab leaders, supposedly Muslim. He believes that he is God. There's no room for discussion. He believes that he is God. Which is very funny. So, the king calls Ibrahim and he says, tell me about your God. He says, my Lord creates life and he creates death. He creates life and he creates death. The man, the king, the idiot, he brings a guy and he says, kill him. And he kills him. His guards kill him. He brings another guy, he says, don't kill him. He says, see, I grant death and I grant life. Now Ibrahim a.s., he could have said, how are you granting life by not killing him? He could have said, no, bring the guy that you killed back to life. He could have said any of these things. But Ibrahim is a spectacular source for us to learn from when it comes to da'wah. He doesn't meddle in the little things. He doesn't meddle in the little things. When someone says to you, how can God do this? So what do you want to believe in then? Evolution? How can evolution do this? Don't meddle in the little things. Oh, but. Don't meddle. Go to the higher thing. What does Ibrahim a.s. do? He says, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ Allah, He brings the sun from the east and He sets it in the west. Why don't you bring it from the west and set it in the east? He doesn't dabble in the little things. فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. Gobsmacked, totally just bewildered was the one that disbelieved. Bewildered was the one that disbelieved. This is Ibrahim a.s. from such a young age. The lesson that I want to impart, if anything, is that sometimes we think I'm too young. I'm 35, I'm still too young. Right? I'm 45, I'm still too young. And our uncles are like, you're still a kid. The guy's 55, he's got grandchildren, he's still a kid. But Ibrahim changes the world. He stands against the world at the age of 12, 13. Don't ever think that you're not good enough. Some of the Mufassirin say he was given prophethood after these feats. Some of them say no, he was given prophethood before. As if Allah was giving him prophethood because of what he did. Because of what he did, the stances that he took. Inshallah, next week we're going to go through the lessons, almost 30, not lessons, characteristics of Ibrahim. And then inshallah we're going to go through one of the ultimate acts of tawakkul to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where Ibrahim will leave his wife and toddler, baby. He's still breastfeeding. The baby is still breastfeeding. He leaves mother and baby in the desert and walks away. Because Allah had ordered him to do so. Huge tawakkul. And then we see how his wife, a true believer, how she reacts. And what she does. And this family, subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He describes how He has blessed the family of Ibrahim, ala Ibrahim, wa ala Imran, and the family of Imran, from which Isa, Prophet Jesus, comes from. How he has blessed them. But we'll talk about these characteristics next week, inshallah. قُلْ قَوْلِ هَذَا وَاسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهَ لِي وَلَكُمْ وَلِصَالِحِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. If anyone has any questions or any comments. Questions, comments? Yes.
The story of Ibrahim and the king. Someone narrated this story before in the course of the concept of dawah. And it says that what Ibrahim was saying or was alluding to is with regards to the story of Ibrahim and the king, when he was debating with him about the attributes of Allah, it's as if everyone knew what the characteristics of God were. It's basing this kind of taking lessons from this experience with Nimrod that people can kind of use as a dawah technique, in the sense that people know that God is someone who can never die. People know that God is someone who is never in need of food. People know that God is the one who can give life and death. And it wasn't debated by Nimrod to say that no, God can't do that. It was accepted that that's what God should be able to do. And so there's a lesson to take from that. That if you are engaging in discourse with someone who's saying that such and such creation is a God, then you can go back to these principles of what a God or attributes of God are, and say, listen, let's
compare.
match, let's compare, let's see who's God fulfills this criteria. And effectively, I think that's what Ibrahim was doing in that context. So I think there's an important lesson to take in that experience.